Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today is Tuesday, May the 5th, and I am about getting ready here to start on the read-through for Littlehood, my middle grade fairy tale retelling. I just finished the official second draft, although since the first draft was a zero draft, I'm kind of counting this as a first draft. It's also kind of like a revision draft. I'm not sure exactly what to call it. Anyways, it's finished. I finished that Sunday. Yesterday I took kind of a break, but I was editing videos and making more videos and stuff. So today has been, I'm gonna be completely honest, a bit of a rough day. But you know what? We're gonna push on. I'm fixing to take the girls outside. We're gonna go out and hang outside and let them run and hopefully burn off a ton of energy while mommy pulls out a notebook and my highlighters and my pen, and yeah, we're gonna do the read through. Also, I feel like I should just mention, I keep showing you guys like, this is a moment of truth. I have never even tried pretending that my house is not messy 90% of the time because I'm a busy mama and a busy writer. But I will say my room, the last vlog that I just finished uploading yesterday, I never noticed just how bad the room looked in that video until I was watching back through it this morning, and I was like, dang it, like every single pile of laundry, clean laundry, you could see, and every single pile of papers that I hadn't put away yet. So I'm just going to have a moment of author confession before I get on with the read through and just say that my room is currently the one room that I am not really concerned about keeping neat because, again, I have limited energy right now. And the farther along this pregnancy I go, the less energy I will have. And so I have been focusing my attention on the necessities. So like keeping the kitchen relatively clean and keeping food on the table, keeping the living room relatively clutter-free. There are parts of my house that are clean, I promise. My bedroom just does not happen to be one of them because this is like the one place that even when we're not in, coming out of quarantine and stuff, people don't usually see this room. So, and the kiddos are in here now to collect me. Kaylin, how you go put on your mermaid shoes? We're gonna go outside. So yeah, I'm gonna go grab my notebook, grab my highlighters, grab my pen, and we're gonna go outside and we're gonna have some fun. Okay, so today I read through the first 5 chapters of the book. I actually was able to find a use for my purple because again, this is a new color. I haven't had this before. Let me see if I can find. So like here, I'm actually going to be introducing a new chapter. So purple is now for formatting, for changing up of the structure of the chapter outlay and things of that nature. Okay, so big picture thoughts about the manuscript as a whole at this point. I knew that there were 2 things that I was going to need to work on. The first was the setting. The entire story happens in a certain set of locations that are all within a certain distance of each other. And basically Blanche, the main character, travels around to all these different locations, talking to all the different people and having all the various adventures. So I need to have a concrete map drawn out with the specific amount of miles or time for traveling on foot or whatever between each location. Not just like between her house and here and then this house and here, but like between like everything has to be figured out so that I know like they're going north to go to the woodcutter's house, or they're going west to go to the village or whatever. I need to know what direction, also how long it's going to take them to get everywhere so that it makes a lot more sense. Like in one chapter I had that they were going past the miller's house to get to the woodcutter's house, but then later on in the book, the miller's house is toward the village, and the village is on one side and the woodcutter's house on the other side of their house. So I need to make a map. I need to figure that out. I already knew that. It's very clear already. I have lots and lots of green markings in here for location problems. And the second was timeline. There is a succession of events that takes place following the very first introduction of the mystery of the wolf. And the succession of events is supposed to build to the big battle at the end. But in order to do that, it's supposed to start off with like these little events scattered few and far between, and then be getting more frequent, bigger, more of an issue, until they lead up into all of these events happening at one point. And right now, it's not really like that. It's like these events are just kind of happening whenever. It's just whatever. There's no actual feel of the build up. So the timeline for that and the map are the two biggest things that I will need to do, but I'm going to wait until the end of the book to do those and then just mark things as I go. Some other things that I'm noticing right away is that there's not a definitive stakes thing right at the first chapter, which I kind of knew as I was drafting it. I was kind of thinking through, I remember thinking through, there needs to be a more clearly defined stake, like what's at stake for Blanche if her initial plan does not pan out, if, you know, this idea that she has at the beginning of the novel of what she can do to fix things, which of course is going to fail, and she's going to have to try something different later on. If that doesn't work out, what does she have to lose? What does she have to gain? That's not, it's said, but it's said in a very direct and not very interesting way, so that it doesn't really appear so much as a stake as just part of the opening scenario, which I don't want. I want it to be a more clearly defined stake. So I also have, when the villain is introduced, or one of the villains is introduced, there's nothing really that says, like, it's pretty obvious that this person is not going to be a good guy, but there's nothing about like what happens in that opening chapter that says, oh, this is going to be like, watch out for this guy, like something bad is going to go down because of him. It's just kind of, he's just kind of there. And so I'm going to add something in, I don't know what yet, but I'm going to add something in that gives it away a little bit more clearly that he is connected to things that are happening throughout the story, which should be pretty evident from the beginning. It's supposed to be like a mystery to the characters, but like the audience is supposed to know, kind of thing. And then lastly, just trying to figure out character introduction. I think I figured it out, but the problem with this first draft here is that we have a chapter, so much is getting introduced in chapter 2, so many characters. We go from just meeting Blanche and her mother in the first chapter and kind of figuring out their situation to all of a sudden chapter 2, it's like, bam, we meet her best friend Helene, her best friend's mother, the mayor of the town, a lackey character, the woodcutter. We got all these characters getting introduced in this little amount of time in this one location, and it just felt very rushed. So I'm going to change that up. That's part of the chapter rearrangement. I'm going to be combining chapters 1 and 2 while taking a huge segment out of chapter 2 and moving it over to the new chapter 2, which is going to be connected to chapter 3. Which is also being cut in half, and now the end of chapter 3 is being connected to chapter 4, so on and so forth. Like, it's a thing. But overall, I'm really excited about my progress. I've made it through 16 full pages to the beginning of page 17, which is awesome. Also, yes, I had to write the page numbers down because for some reason I always forget to put page numbers in and when I'm making a draft. I don't know why, but that's just a thing. So yeah, anywho, my goal is to at least, like at the very bare minimum, make it through halfway through the book in reading by the end of the week, but I may see if I can go farther. We'll see. All right, I love you all. See you tomorrow. Bye. All right, everybody. Well, it is now Wednesday, and yes, I am already out of breath, and I am just sitting down to really get started. It's a little after 9. I'm only going to work for about an hour, and I'll do a little bit of a recap then. I'm starting in chapter 6, right? So that's the next chapter. And as soon as I started reading, I realized that this is kind of why I was having some trouble before. The whole focus of the first chapter is talking about how her life is such a harsh life, so full of drudgery, and like she's always working. That's all she and her mother ever do. But then like we have 3 scenes in a row where she's like just kind of, you know, skipping along the road and like she's doing her own thing. Well, it's not really her own thing. It's technically still work, but like she's actually out of the house. So I'm not sure what to do here. This is one of those things where it's like, this is a developmental edit that I won't actually be removing chunks of the manuscript, but I will be moving everything around so much that I'm not really sure like what to do other than just keep reading, which I'm going to do. I'm going to make a note here just to fix it. Maybe if I added a paragraph or two about like some of the days in between where she's working, but then that goes back to the timeline where I have to figure out like how many days it's been since we did have like the first of the events. Timeline is not something that I normally have much of an issue with. And in this particular story, it has become like the monster that ate the house. So I'm going to get back to reading. I'm going to get to work now. So yeah. Okay, so end of the night thoughts. First thing, if you couldn't tell from all the orange in this, my narrative desperately needs to be condensed. And I was actually thinking about this last night and I forgot to mention it. What I noticed immediately, like as soon as I started reading page 1 of the manuscript yesterday, and what I have seen on almost every page since then, is that every time I have a description, it's like way overboard. Way more wordy, like everything in general is just like super wordy, which I had kind of known the whole time. I was like giving myself freedom to indulge my overwriter a little bit. So when I got my beta reader feedback and my edit notes from my editor back on Snowdust, one of the number one things that people said that they liked was the details and the description. They said that that was like one of their favorite parts, was how I was able to draw people into a scene very quickly and very vividly. But reading back through this now, it feels like I was overdoing it in this manuscript, trying to compete with that or trying to live up to that. That has continued to be a problem. So that needs to be cleaned up. And the nice thing about most of this, like I mentioned before, is I don't think that I'll have to actually like remove full chunks of material. At this point, at least, I'm just moving them around or kind of finagling at the beginning and at the end to make things mesh. So I'm glad that I'm going through this read through and going ahead and at least making note of them so that I can clean up the words pretty quickly later on. I think I've also figured out to some degree, like chapter 6 and chapter 7 were thing that I want to do, and I'm finished reading through, is, and I've kind of figured out how I want to lay the scenes out, is to go back through and make note of every scene, not every chapter, but every scene, and I may have already said this, on a note card or on a sticky note, color-coded to the locations, so I can see which locations each scene happens in very quickly, with a list of the characters involved in each scene, and then a gist of what happens in the scene, but then I can lay them out and I can see where these locations are happening, and with the characters, like how often the characters are showing up, so that I can better figure out how to fit it all together, if that makes any sense. Ugh, I don't know. I feel like it's good. I feel like it's really good, and I am so in love with the story. It's just frustrating at this point to feel like I'm still floundering a little bit to figure out exactly how it needs to be organized in order for it to be the most interesting to the readers. So I'm signing off for tonight. It's only a little bit after 10, so that's exciting. I actually have some time to myself. Let's see, how well did I do? I read up through the almost end of page 24, and like I said, I am 8 chapters in, even though I think at this point in a new outline it will be like 6 chapters. So I'm happy, and hopefully I didn't completely confuse you guys. I will check back with you tomorrow when I start reading again. Good night. Hey everybody, it is now Thursday, and yes, we are rocking the messy, kind of meh mom bun today, but I don't care. I actually have makeup on, so that's good. And my nails, they were done yesterday and they're already starting to peel, which is driving me crazy, but I do have something on them, so I feel a little bit more dressed up than normal. Anywho, I'm kind of in a rush because it is almost 12 o'clock p.m. I have some water going to make hot tea, and I'm sitting down to start reading. I have a lot of extra time today to read that I did not expect to have today, so that is good, but I do need to make sure that I'm taking advantage of it. So I read 5 chapters on Tuesday, 3 yesterday, so my goal is to read 7 today, and that will put me at 15 chapters, which is halfway through the novel because there are a total of 30. Sorry, my arm is really aching from holding the camera because I've been running around and carrying laundry baskets. I have been having some issues this last week with sitting for any length of time. My bones are moving around and stuff, making room for baby, you know, and the muscles really don't like that. So if I sit for too long, I can really start to get some bad back aches and hip aches. So I'm going to try and read a chapter, get up and do something, read a chapter, get up and do something. I don't have anything super pressing from now until 3 when I have a writer call. I'm pretty sure it's 3. My writer friend and I live in different time zones, and I have moved time zones multiple times back and forth. So I never can remember. It used to be really simple, and now it's like I don't remember. I should, but I don't. Anywho, I have that at 3, and then, of course, before then I need to eat lunch. I have to throw some meat in the marinade, and I have to run down and get laundry out of the dryers here at the apartments. But the good news is all of that will kind of fit into my needing to get up, you know, in between each chapter or every other chapter. So I'm going to go ahead and shut up and start reading, and yeah, let's do it. Also, hopefully, being able to change different locations. As you can tell, I'm in the kitchen right now. Or the dining room, I guess, is in the kitchen dining room. So I can sit here for a little while, but these chairs are not very comfortable, so I probably won't sit here for too long. Then maybe move to the couch and try to do a lot of writing there. And then there's another chair in the living room I can sit in, other than just my bed, which is where I end up having to go when things are normal schedule, which today is very not normal. Today is a weird day, but you know what? We're going with it. Anyways, okay, back to the reading. So you remember how I said that there's 30 chapters total in the book? I sat down, lunch is still cooking, so I'm not quite ready to dive into chapter 10. But I just sat down and started looking at it, and chapter 10 is the midpoint. Oh gosh. Okay, chapter 10 is the midpoint. And there's 30 chapters, which means that my midpoint has happened a third of the way through the book. Duh. No wonder it felt rushed, because this whole, all of these 10 chapters have felt like there's not enough time for the relationships to be developing, for Blanche's plan to matchmake her mom to have actually had time to ruminate, and all of the external events happening with the animal attacks and things leading up to the appearance of the wolf have been in the background. I am not upset in that I think that this is not going to work out. It's just a lot more work than I thought I was going to have to put into this. I knew I was going to have to rearrange stuff and that there's going to be developmental stuff, but this is a problem. This is a big structural problem. So I have options. Now I can add more scenes in to this first third and slowly push the midpoint to where it's supposed to be and then have all the other stuff happen, which is probably what I need to do. But what do I put in this first third? What do I add? I don't know what to add. Okay, I'm going to get food. Me and my crazy hair. And I guess I'm going to get back to it. It's now almost 12:30. Dang it. Ah! Well, it is now 1:16. Finally, I made it all the way through chapter 10. In a way, it's really exciting. I have figured out something that I knew wasn't working, and I know the basic idea of how to fix it. I'm just still not sure what else to add. Like, the book is already so long. This is going to be a significantly more hefty book. Significantly heftier book than Snowdust. I mean, 65,000, I'm okay with that. 65 is not, it's not pushing it. But if I make it up to 70K, I'm going to have some, I don't know. Maybe comment below if you read a ton of middle grade and 70,000 words really isn't that long for a fantasy. It just feels like a ton of words for me for a book that I would expect someone between the ages of 10 and 13 to read. There's just a lot of work. Okay, all right, getting to it. Okay, everyone, well, it is now the end of the day. I'm sorry to not get any footage of me actually reading through the last 2 chapters, but I was getting supper ready and then I had to get the girls to bed, so I was very much all around, all over the place. So end of the day thoughts. Obviously, I was a little bit disheartened to learn just how much work was going to have to go into that first third of the novel. But on the flip side of that, on the other side of that, from that midpoint scene on that I read, so basically all the 7 chapters that I read today, it was really good. Like, it was really, really good. The midpoint itself was really solid, like the action that took place there. The follow-up to the midpoint and the mirror moment for the main character Blanche was really great. And then the events that have happened afterward that are kind of some of the more mystery type things that happen that I can't talk about because they are very definitely spoilery. Those were really good. Like, I was sitting there really enjoying the conversations between some of these characters. And I think that is what I'm taking away from today. Is I've just been really enjoying the characters' conversations. They're really good. Like, you know, the narrative has been really wordy and I totally goofed up with the amount of scenes that I had at the beginning. I need to at least double what I have going on there. But the characters are there. Like, they're individual and unique characters, and I feel like I know them and that their voices have been coming through pretty clearly, which is always great. And then, of course, the source material for the actual dialogue between characters has been really great. So I know that that will drive the story forward. I really am excited. I was talking in my writer call today with my friend. There's a part of me that is just so excited for how good Little Hood has turned out, like the book itself. But there's also part of me that is just like champing at the bits because this is not the only book that I want to write this year. But I have to really focus on this book for pretty much the rest of the year up until it gets published in order to get it published. Like, the only thing is that I just keep coming back to is that, you know, my professional edit is in October and I have a baby coming in August. So I know at least most of August is going to be completely gone, and then I don't know how productive September will be depending on how much work I can get done. Now, obviously my husband, he is an amazing, amazing partner who has always been there to support me, and I think that he will be more than happy to step in and help out if I've got this deadline, and like, I know I can count on him, but there's still only so much that he can do when he's working a full-time job that's out of the house and all that stuff, and it's a very physically a physically demanding job that he works. So we're gonna see. So all right, I'm gonna sign off for the night and quit jabbering. I am excited. I am definitely excited. I think these last 2 chapters really helped get me back to excited after the disheartenment, the discouragement, whatever the word is of this morning. I feel a lot better. So yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, well, it is Saturday. Yesterday was supposed to be a really good writing day. Guess how much writing happened? None. But that is okay. We are okay with that. We'll deal. I have the rest of the evening once the girls are in bed, and I actually have already done another chapter. I've already done another chapter, and I'm well on my way through a second chapter. So in theory, if I want to keep up with where I was, like, in my goals, in theory, if I want to keep up with where my goals were for the 5 chapters a day, I'd have to do 10 chapters today, which I think in theory is doable. It just means that I'm going to have to really go fast. And the nice part is that at this point in the story, we're kind of getting to a point where things are going faster anyway and kind of coming to a head pretty quickly. So, wow, and I'm also out of breath because I took the girls swimming in the river today. And so, wow, yeah, that was a lot of energy for this poor mother. Anywho, so Mike is out grilling, and I've got some veggies and some fried apples and some garlic bread to make. Just kind of throw together a supper. After supper, probably not a whole lot going to happen. Before supper, I might be able to finish up this last part of this particular chapter, and then we'll see. Worst case scenario, I only get the 5 chapters done for today. Actually, worst case scenario, I don't get back to them at all, but I'm trying to be hopeful here. This is not going how I had planned, and this is how it always goes. They start off doing so great, and then it slowly spirals down. And I know that that's just, life right now is harder. My body is not full of energy anymore right now, and my mind is not full of energy, but it's okay because we're still making progress, and things are good. I have to keep reminding myself, progress is progress. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to self-publish, was so that I could be on my own schedule, and that if I needed to push a deadline, I could. Of course, I also wanted to do that so that I could go ahead and publish stuff and not take forever publishing, but we're going to take what we can get. So anywho, I am very encouraged about how the story is going and all the emotions that are happening in the story, but yeah, I just am not encouraged at how slowly it's going. But it's okay. It's okay. All right, let's do food. Okay, very quick end of the night thoughts because my battery is almost dead. But I ended up reading 5 chapters total, which I thought was pretty great since I managed to get most of the 2 chapters done before supper and then didn't get back to it until about 9. And it's now 11:08, so I think I did a pretty good job. There was some more plot structure type issues regarding some characters and relationship development and some timeline errors. So really the same issues that I've been having, but I hadn't had them for a couple of chapters and was hoping that they were behind me. They're not quite. One of the characters that that is pivotal to Blanche's journey, they meet for the first time in this draft, several chapters past the midpoint. In an earlier draft, well, the only other early draft, they had met earlier in the story. In fact, I think they had met shortly after the catalyst. So I'm not exactly sure why I bumped that meeting forward so far. I'm not sure that it's going to work. So I have no clue exactly where it's going to go. Probably I'll have to wait until I've reworked Act 1, but it's going to go somewhere around the Act 1 first half of the book. Part of the reason for that is because their meeting, they have a conversation, the way that it's laid out right now, and this goes back to timeline issues, but they have a conversation where they first meet and, they're talking and stuff, getting to know each other. And then within that same 24-hour span, like actually less than that, within that same 12-hour span, they meet again and they have another conversation that they kind of have to have before something happens that night at midnight. So they have two conversations within the span of the same day, and that it doesn't really work. So I'm moving that. Yeah, I'm moving around some other conversations. Just looking over the notes that I have here, I did have a couple of pages where there wasn't as much orange, which was nice. Yeah, that's the other thing. My villain, one of the villains, there's several villains in this book, and one of the villains, I gotta figure them out better, because at this point in the story, we're up to chapter 20 now. I just finished reading chapter 20, and this is the first time that the main character has actually come face to face with this villain in the capacity where, like, they actually speak to each other. Like, he actually acknowledges who she is. And that's was kind of on purpose, in that this villain is supposed to be more of like a behind the scenes kind of villain. Like that they're the bad guy and that they're behind stuff, but there's no like physical evidence of them doing it. So you just kind of know that they're in the background. And then within a few chapters of what happens in this, what I just wrote or what I just read, this villain's going to kind of tip their hand, or be forced to tip their hand and be forced to get their hands dirty. So I'm honestly not sure. I feel like I like it this way to a degree. But at the same time, like, they're being talked about. This villain is being talked about a lot throughout the book. Their name's getting thrown around a lot. And I feel like in order for them to not just be kind of like this over the top, oh, like, we know what they've done, but we don't actually see them doing any of it kind of villain. But then that's exactly the kind of person that they are. They're the kind of person that, like, they would be too good at hiding their own tracks to make it obvious that they're being the villain, or everyone would have already, confronted them about it. So it's kind of up in the air right now what exactly that I'm going to do with this. I honestly don't really feel like there's a whole lot that I can do, again, for the same reason, just the kind of villain that they are. There's another, like, a lackey character who's very blatant in his, well, he's not really a villain, he's just more of like a cowardly, person. And then there are some rougher characters, like some thugs, some extra characters that don't have names or anything, that they're kind of the rough handlers, they're the mob guys, they're going to go out and get stuff done. So they kind of fill in the void, and it really so far hasn't been as much about this particular villain as it has been about the wolf itself. And I don't know. I feel like at this point my villain isn't necessarily weak, just poorly portrayed. And, the motives are all there, the wherewithal is there, the hows, the whys, the wheres, the whats, all that stuff is there. It's just, we're seeing it from the 11-year-old girl's perspective, who's not privy to a ton of information. So I feel like there are bigger hints that I can drop. Maybe not even hints, because it's not really a mystery that this person is a villain. But maybe, like, bigger pieces of the puzzle that I can drop that kind of explain more about why this person is doing what they're doing, how they were able to figure out how to do it, and what their backup plan is when things go awry. So, yeah. Right now it still feels like there's a beautiful, well-developed cast of characters, and they're only, like, they pop up every other scene, here's a different character, and they're not really being tied directly to each other. very well, which again, that's part of it's just the first draft process. You know, it's part of it. You know, weaving those threads together takes time, and it takes multiple read throughs and edits and things. So I'm not worried about it, just trying to mentally figure out how all of that's going to go down. So anywho, it is late. I'm going to go into sleep. I'm going to try and get some more chapters read tomorrow. I've gotten to the part of the story where it was actually kind of hard to put the book down. Like, I was exhausted mentally. I didn't really want to do any more editing, but I wanted to keep reading because the story itself has gotten to a point where it's like you can't really put it down. And that in itself is very exciting. We're getting very close to the big battle, you know, the big end, and there's a ton of stuff that happens beforehand that has me super excited. Also, one giant plot hole that I know needs to be filled, but it'll be an easy one, I think. So, anywho, that's all for me for tonight. I'll let you know if I get any work done tomorrow or if I have to save it for Monday. That's the next day. It's been a long day, y'all. It's been a long week. Yes, at this point, I am very tired and I'm not making much sense. I apologize. I'm going to bed now. I love you all. Good night. Hello, everyone. We are back, and my throat is not happy with me because I had sugar yesterday. A lot of sugar, like a lot. So my throat is not happy with me. The rest of my body isn't either. We're going to try and work through it. So today is Monday, and yesterday ended up being such a delightfully busy day with just being with, you know, my husband, my girls, watching movies, floating in a tube in the river. It was just a wonderful, relaxing, but also exhausting day. Y'all ever have those where it's equally relaxing and exhausting? I decided not to do any writing yesterday, just take yesterday off. And so today is the day that I had originally planned to finish the read through if I only had 5 chapters left. Since I still have 9, I'm going to push that goal over to finishing tomorrow, which is Tuesday. And, you know, I enjoy saying worst case scenario and then applying like something that's actually still really good. So like worst case scenario, I finish a day late. That's still really good. I will still have gotten my book read through in just over a week. I am okay with that. Anywho, it's 2:30 and I'm not sure how much longer I have until Little Bit gets up. She was pretty tired after yesterday. She missed her nap. So hopefully she'll sleep a little bit longer and get really well rested, because let me tell you, she was not happy today. She was not happy at all. So I'm going to go get something to drink and then come and sit with my highlighters, my pen, and my notebook, and of course take you guys along with me to see how many chapters we can get done today. So, okay, enough talking. Let's go. Oh my gosh, so much orange. Also, this is the half of the manuscript that I ended up printing off on cheaper paper, and the highlighters are bleeding through now. There we go. Okay, everybody, well, it is now Tuesday. So apologies for not really finishing up yesterday's video clips. I did end up getting 2 chapters done, which may not sound like much, but I was doing it with Wheels on the Bus and a myriad of other children's songs on in the background. So I felt that that was pretty good for having that as background noise. Yeah, but I did not get anything else done that night. It's been a long day, but it's been a good day, and I am ready. I am champing at the bit to start this last leg of the journey, and I genuinely believe that I can finish reading this tonight. It may just take all night. We're gonna see. Tomorrow, once I finish the read through and can start like writing down and organizing the edit notes, that part should be easier. So doing that tomorrow shouldn't be too big of a deal. But yeah, I just have to finish reading through the material. So that is the goal for right now. I am going to be doing this in the living room. My husband's in there playing some video game. I don't remember which one it is. One of the Modern Warfare ones, I think. But he's in there playing a video game. So I'm going to actually go in there and sit with him just so we can at least be in the same room together. And because with that on in the background, like if it's like a more story-driven one,
or like a fantasy-ish one. I have a hard time concentrating on what I'm doing, but since it's a shoot 'em up, I can phase that out and it'll be nice to be with him. So I probably will not be able to get quite as much footage, if any at all, but I will definitely give you guys an end of the night video clip like I have been, just kind of summing up where I am and what's going on. Also, like, I know I mentioned earlier in the video that my sitting has been an issue because of like pregnancy, back, and hip issues. And I'm just gonna say that since I recorded that, it's actually gotten worse. I have an exercise ball that I'm probably gonna sit on for some of my writing or my reading to try and like work out those muscles. And then I may try standing for a period of time at our dining room table. It's not the best setup because it's not really like, I'm a very tall person. I'm 5'11", so, which that's tall, right? I never feel like it's that tall because I have a sister who's 6 foot, but and a brother who's 6'3". But I'm pretty tall for, I guess, for average. And so the table is actually really high for sitting. You sit it with bar stools, but it's still not high enough to where I can like stand and just like everything's right here where I need it to be. So I don't know how long I'll be able to do that, but I'm going to try standing for some of it just because I cannot sit for that long. And of course I'll be walking, probably like, you know, going outside and walking for a little bit of time in between every few scenes or every few chapters. So yeah, enough talking. It is about 9:15. I'm gonna wait to make my hot chocolate until later, until maybe I've gotten in like 2 or 3 chapters. Maybe once I hit the halfway point. Once I hit the halfway point of the night's reading, then I will make myself the hot chocolate, because if I'm sitting there sipping and then it's gone and then I still have like 6 chapters left to go, it's gonna be a real bummer. So I'm gonna wait on that. And yeah, I think I hear children. So let's go make sure they're sleeping. And if I can't take you with me, then I'll talk to you afterward. Bye.
Okay, so it actually turns out I have 8 chapters and not 7. I don't know, my brain glitched on that one, but it doesn't really matter. I got through the first 4, so I am halfway through the climax scene right now. It's going really great, and already these last couple of scenes, I have found a couple of little plot points that I think that I can backtrack and use in Act 1 and the early part of Act 2 to help flesh it out, add in the more scenes, give myself that extra time to develop the relationships, as well as develop some of these plot points that are coming in to play later in the book. And that's really exciting, but I do need to take a break. I was sitting in there up until like 10 minutes ago, and then my husband turned a movie on, so I'm in here now. But I made it through 4 chapters, so I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to make my hot chocolate, and then I'm going to come back, and I'm going to finish this sucker. We are almost done, you guys. Oh, it's so good. And I have used way less orange the last couple of chapters. Got the hot cocoa. Also these. I'm sorry, I needed the help. We just finished the climax, the big battle at the end, and we're on to chapter 28. I'm so sleepy right now. I'm starting to wonder if the hot chocolate was a good thing, but it was so good. It's 11:30. I have 3 chapters left. No idea how many pages that is. But I'm almost done. It's finished again. And I am so excited and tired and so in love with this story. It is everything that I wanted it to be. Or rather, I should say it is becoming. It is becoming everything that I wanted it to be. It's not there yet. There's a lot of work left to do. All the character pieces that I'm tying back in, all the new scenes that I'm going to be adding. It's going to be a lot of work, but it's going to be good. It's going to be so good. And the end product is going to be worth it. I know. So the next step after this read through is that tomorrow, I'm really close. Tomorrow,
I'm going to take this binder full of papers. The highlighters are going away, but that's okay. I'm going to take the notes that I've made on the backs of the pages that are like the big overhaul type edit notes. And I'm going to organize them and make a list of like general big picture developmental edits and then chapter by chapter edits. I'm going to try and do that tomorrow, potentially Thursday as well, depending on how long it takes me to do that. And then I do need to make the timeline, the map, and the outline cards. Like take the scenes that exist and make the new scenes and put them all on cards, color-coded by location so I can see where everything's happening, and start preparing to make the new outlines so that I can begin work on draft 3. But that is all tomorrow's problem. So that is going to be it for me for this particular video. Hope you enjoyed it. I really love getting to watch other authors' processes, whether it's pre-writing, the drafting, or the post-writing. And so for me, getting to vlog all this in detail has been really helpful, and I hope it's been encouraging to you, whether it's giving you new ideas, maybe for a part of your process that wasn't working for you, or if it was just fun to watch somebody else to fumble through the process. I will be vlogging the rest of this process as well, making the edits, beta reading, final edits, all that fun stuff. So keep an eye out for those videos, but that's going to be it for me for tonight. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, make sure to click the like and subscribe if you haven't already. I love you all so much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.